For the next part, this is where it starts to become interesting. We're going to start combining 3D shapes. Combining 3D shapes essentially allows you to build pretty much anything that you would like to draw. And this is especially true for the human body, as we saw a couple of examples back. So the simplest example that I can give you of combining 3D shapes is something that you probably already did before, which is drawing a house. Right, you probably already did this. Where you combine a square with a triangle. You probably already did this at school, at kindergarten, primary school, whatever. This is a very basic shape, and then you add a couple of other basic shapes right here. You have your windows, which are essentially rectangles, and then you have the door, which is another big rectangle. And then what we did in the previous lesson was, okay, what if we had the same thing, but in 3D, right? What if we had exactly the same thing, but in 3 dimensions? Where now we have a house as well. It's just that the house now exists in the 3D space. And if I draw the windows here, you see that this line over here is following this line here. And if I have a door here, it would follow this line here. So it's parallel. Taken to another extreme, what if I were to draw the house from this angle, right? As if I was looking at the top. So this is the same house, just that my eye is up here, and I'm looking at this angle from above the house. And the whole thing is that I'm combining this, the cube, right? I'm combining the cube with the pyramid, and I make a house in 3D. Drawing the human body is essentially this. What I mean by this is, let's break it down. Let's break it down at the most. Probably the thing that you would feel the most comfortable drawing, which is the human face, the face. So if you look at my face, as we said before, just looking at it from the front, it's a rectangle, right? And then you have the neck, which is, depending on how big, it's another rectangle or another square. Depends on how big the neck is, right? And then we have our torso. And I'm just going to draw this part here. Right? If it might not look, it isn't complicated, I would recommend that you try to draw this shape. We have here what you can start to imagine as the chest, the neck, and the head. I think it would be even, if you don't have the ability to visualize that right now, what if I were to draw some eyes? There you go. It doesn't seem he's too happy, but there you go. This might help you visualize it. where now we start to have a face. We start to have a face. You probably will hear this, especially if I were to draw the whole thing, that this is the mannequin. This is the human mannequin. And it doesn't necessarily need, I don't think it needs you to memorize all the muscles in the human body. Far from it, far from it. I used to know them, not right now. But I think if you master drawing the mannequin, which is a combination of multiple shapes, if I'm just looking at it from the front, it's the basic shapes and no 3D, right? I have here my shoulder, exaggerated, sure, but it's a shoulder. I don't know, sorry, I shouldn't have drawn this in 3D. I have here my arm, right? You don't need to memorize the muscles, far from it. You just need to memorize a couple of key lines, and you need to memorize, of course, the basic shapes that make the human body, the mannequin, right? And then from there you can just take it and apply it in a different variety of scenarios as you draw your character. So for example, I have here my face. Of course, we need to be mindful that we do need to shop some things. Why shop is, let's say that the character has, the chin. Usually the chin, and when I say usually, keep in mind, everyone is different. You might have a character that has a more square chin, others that have a very triangle-based chin, more pointy. It really depends on what you're trying to do, right? So here I have my chin. My ears, let's say my ears are just, it's kind of like a croissant. So if I were to, it's like I have a circle and I just chop it here, tuk, tuk, tuk. I have my scissors and I just chop it. I have my ears, and for the hair, we're not going to lose a lot of time right now. I will give you some tips on drawing the hair. Right now I'm just going to draw a blurry shape. Yeah. And we will look into the individual elements that make the human body in a bit. Keep in mind that, again, I'm not going to tell you the names of the entire muscles. I'm just going to tell you key lines, key aspects that it would be ideal for you to focus on. So I have here my face, my neck, right? My neck just obeys this form here. One thing to keep in mind that is we do have some triangle action happening here with the trapezius. You don't need to know the trapezius. You just need to know that there's some triangular action happening here that connects to this rectangle. We imagine a medium line here, and you have our chest. You have our shoulders. Right. So for the key piece to keep in mind is that as we transition into the 3D part of it, right, is that if you start thinking by drawing like this, right, where you have your basic shapes, this is the same thing but in 3D, so you can start to imagine our mannequin right here. And of course we do need to imagine the medium lines and everything, and we'll get into details on how to draw the specific elements that make the face in a bit, but I'm gonna draw here the ear, right? Same thing, we have our neck here, some trapezius action, so the triangle here, medium line, medium line. This medium line is very important, and we'll get to it in a bit, but this is a line that you need to be comfortable with drawing the medium line of objects. I did forget to say that. So if you have your cube here, get into the habit of also becoming comfortable drawing the medium line of the object, because it will be helpful as well as you draw the human body to be able to draw the different elements. So yeah, I have here my face, my right, sure. Combining here more shapes. So this is the same character, but as if you are looking from below. And I imagine my medium line is here. You start to be able to, and I'll switch the sheet, but you start becoming able to, from the previous exercises that we did, you start to become able to draw the object, in this case the human body, from different angles. I do apologize for the sneeze. So this would be the back of the head. This would be the lats right over here. So the back. I need a different pen. I need a different pen. Shoulder here. So this would be the lats. That's why we emphasize really drawing as much as you can of the rectangles, because then you combine them into the different shapes. Like so. So you just try drawing from different angles. So right now I'm repeating the angles, right? But that's the whole point of the exercise. So here I'm twisting. You see that I'm applying some twist form into here. And don't be necessarily, so even my shapes are not the most correct right now. Don't be overly focused with making the shapes overly correct. The important thing is for you to practice these 3D shapes. just combining the tube. And as I bend the tube, right, it's as if I have neck manipulation. One thing to keep in mind that I did forget to mention is that when we do this combination for the human body, and I do need to grab some more paper, but when we do the combination for the human body, for this part, especially for the head and the neck, and before I get too ahead of myself, but if we imagine, right, this is our torso, and we imagine, yeah, this would be the chest. We do need to consider the medium line, like I said before, and this would be in the middle, would be where the neck lands. So I draw here my head, and then this is where the neck lands, in the middle. The same thing for this, where it adjusts, when it connects to the head, the tube so let's say I have my face here, the neck would connect here in the middle. Let me draw it again, because I did had this line here for some reason. So I have my face here as well. This would be the head, and then neck connects here in the middle part as well. The tube, and then the head necessarily, you don't need to apply, for the most part you cannot apply bending forces to the head, neither to the chest. I mean, it can move like this, but the head is stable. But the neck, it's where you are able to exert some motion, like some movement. So this would be also the exercise in a way, is that you practice connecting these three shapes, which are our tube, and we're going to have a section for it. The tube and the square, sorry, the cube, right, and this shape right over here. Keep in mind that it is useful to be able to draw the medium line, like so. You have all of these shapes here. So the whole point of for the next exercise, we're going to be focusing, and we're going to be drawing a lot of tubes connecting to a 3D rectangle. So that makes to also make our point across on the need to have well dominated these basic 3D shapes, so that you can then draw the human body comfortably. So we will see you on the exercise.